Okay, so I just hit the recording button. Oh, I did not mean to do that. I might keep that in.
What happened?
My avatar started bouncing its pecs. I was like, oh, I meant to keep the shirt on.
You gotta keep the pecs bouncing.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tyler, and welcome to TyStar Blues YouTube channel. I'm part of a modeling agency my cousin Jason runs called Tribal Culture Studio, or TCS for short, and we do all sorts of interesting stuff here.
Our biggest attraction, well besides us, is the ongoing audiobook series about our adventures.
TyStar is also a streamer, dudes, and he plays all sorts of games from Sonic to Final Fantasy and more.
He also raids with his friends in SWTOR 3 days a week.
So from all of us to all of you, if you like the content of this channel, please be sure to hit that subscribe button.
We'd like to thank all of you bros for your support.
All right, Ty, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
I'm getting over a cold. I'm really weird about colds. When I get sick, I feel it, but I don't get like the bad I'm about to die part of it. I feel it, and then I'm in the getting over it part. So not the worst, but still kind of annoying. I'm just like, oh my gosh, we'll get over it then.
Yeah, that happens to me sometimes, where sometimes it can be a few days, sometimes it takes up to 2 weeks. It just depends on what it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, I see that you have a book series that focuses a lot on a certain character who starts his own modeling agency. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came up with this story.
Okay, so my name's TyStar Blue, and I'm an author, a gamer, coaster enthusiast, but we're here mostly for the books. So I am gay. I'm currently live in Las Vegas, Nevada, grew up in Central California, and decided to write because writing's kind of been within the family, and my brother wanted to be an author, my aunt wanted to be an author. She's a journalist, and I think that kind of got me a little bit into it, and like in some ways. And I think it's definitely a long journey as to how I got from nothing to getting the first book out there. And oddly enough, TCS, which is the name of TCS is short for Tribal Culture Studio, which the name kind of in universe, Jason came up with the name because he thought it sounded cool.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, I don't even remember how I came up with the name. But it actually didn't start off as a modeling agency. It actually started off because the original plan was to do I was actually in college when the first ideas for something came into my head. And it actually started 3 characters who were known as Jason, Parker, and Jacob. And I mentioned Parker and Jacob, and they eventually morphed to become different characters in TCS, but I'll get to that when I get there.
Gotcha.
But the 3 of them were originally roommates in a college dorm. And 2 of them still became roommates, and you probably guessed who those 2 characters would be, but I know you read the books.
Mm-hmm.
But the 3 of them, it would have been just them hanging out and doing things. They didn't really have much of a plot, and it kind of went on the back burner for a while because by the time I got really into going into it, I had just gotten a job offer and ended up moving away because I graduated college, focusing on getting a job, getting my personal life in affairs. So, but I still kind of had the ideas in my head. And then over time, I kind of just fiddled around in my spare time, which I didn't really like. This was over the course of a couple of years and stuff. But as I said, I'm working long hours and didn't really, and being away from family and stuff. And that kind of was in some way a linchpin into getting me to actually do something productive with my life. Well, something productive do something that I want versus something that I have to because it pays the bills.
Yeah.
And I eventually decided that I think it just kind of naturally evolved into because at that point I'd already graduated college, and a lot of the college tropes and stuff weren't really as relevant to me. And I think it kind of like with Jason, like the way that Jason as a character Jason was kind of based on how I was back in high school.
Yeah.
Where you got this young gay guy with hypersexualized sex drive who wants to be with any guy that he wants to be with. And in high school, I was part of the swim team, and my high school had a water polo team as well. But my parents wouldn't let me play water polo because they thought I wasn't aggressive enough.
Mm.
But I had a lot of friends who did. And some of those friends became the basis for some of the water polo players that are seen
Gotcha.
in TCS. Around 2015, I had a major mental breakdown because, as I said, work was getting out of hand and
Mm-hmm.
being isolated from family. I was 700 miles away from family. So, and I was out there by myself. And being a gay guy, like this was Northern Nevada. This was not Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
I currently live in Las Vegas, but this was Northern Nevada. Northern Nevada is, I don't want to get too political here, but think about as red as you can get.
Oh, wow.
Like if you were to spill a can of red paint, it would be bluer than Northern Nevada.
Oh my gosh. I had no idea.
But even where I grew up in California, it was pretty red there, where people were being killed for being gay.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I don't mean to take this off topic as far as TCS goes, but I don't know if you ever watched Glee.
Yes.
One of the main characters, so I'm trying to remember the actor who played him. I think it was Kurt.
Mm-hmm.
The actor who played him was from Clovis, which is the suburb of Fresno. And he even said in an interview that people were being killed for being gay in Clovis.
Oh my gosh.
So,
yeah, that's stuff we don't really hear about. You know, you just hear over there, that's like kind of a gay metropolis. Like, oh, all the gays go over here. We're going to have so much fun. Yeah, you don't hear about all that kind of stuff over there.
yeah, and I've actually, to kind of wheel things back into topic, but I kind of incorporated SenCal as you kind of say, because you got most people think of NorCal and SoCal, but there's also SenCal. SenCal is like Fresno.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a big difference between Fresno and a place like San Francisco or LA.
Mm-hmm.
And while Fresno itself is a little bit bluer, but the suburbs, it's very good old boy farm. It's a lot of farmers. So like
okay.
Lots of farmers, like ranchers, dairies. There was some discussion about like, we produce more cheese per capita than the entire state of Wisconsin.
Oh my. And when you think about it, if you look at the state of California, it goes all up along the side of the United States. It's a giant state. So I guess it does make sense that it would be so diverse in, opinions like that.
California is a very diverse state. Like, it's 800 miles long going north-south.
Yeah.
So
that's very interesting. So what part of your experience would you say molded the characteristics of a lot of your characters?
Okay, so Jason is the main character, Jason Gilardi, and he's kind of based off of the way I was in a way back in high school. Very, very hyperactive, very eager. I know I said hypersexualized earlier, which that is kind of true, but I'm not sure if that's going to pass the YouTube bots, but whatever.
I think I'll be
but he is really into photography, and I was into photography for different reasons. My dad was really into it as well, and my dad took it very seriously for a while. Like he still has a camera case at his house.
Oh.
That has some really old cameras from the 60s and 70s, which he used to own, and some of them were even passed down from his family. So, and I took some photography classes in college, and I was also part of the yearbook staff in high school, and of course I got to take a few of the pictures of like the swim team and stuff like that. So there's that, and then the other two main characters I haven't really discussed much, Riker and Noel. And then there's also Jason's cousin, Tyler.
Yep.
And the way that I design characters is, well, there's a couple of different ways, but in terms of personalities, I look for contrasts. So there's an axis between Jason and Tyler, and there's an axis between Riker and Noel. And Riker and Noel are the two models that Jason hires initially as the first two models for TCS. And so Tyler's not the exact opposite of Jason. Tyler's still got the pretty factor in some ways. But Tyler is probably closer to the way I am, at least back when I was living in Northern Nevada. A little bit curmudgeon-y, a little bit jaded, seen it all kind of person. And basically having to just being beaten up by the School of Hard Knocks in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the very naive and inexperienced Jason, and then you have like the jaded, washed out Tyler.
So and we're gonna get back to your YouTube channel, but I noticed for your YouTube channel, your mascot is Tyler. Why have you chosen Tyler as your mascot over Jason, who seems to be the main focus of your books?
I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One, Tyler's personality is probably closer to the way mine is in some ways, although sometimes he gets a little bit. He tends to swear a lot more than I do, and part of that, yeah, because I don't swear nearly as much unless it's in traffic, but that's just traffic for you. But the other reason is kind of that muscular appeal because Jason's fairly thin. Like Jason is canonically 5'7", and if I had to guess his weight, he'd probably be around 120.
Gotcha. Oh yeah, he's very thin.
Yeah, it's compared to like Tyler, who's 6'2" and weighs, if I had to guess, somewhere probably 210-ish.
Mm-hmm. Almost like
I'm not
100 pounds on him.
I'm not. Yeah, muscle obviously, not fat, but so there is that kind of appeal, and I think more people are like Tyler. I think is a better mascot for the brand in a way than Jason is because people see the muscle guy, they're more likely to click than if they see a little twink there instead.
Yeah, marketing appeal. That makes a lot of sense. So when I first started reading your books, I noticed that there's kind of like, I don't know if I want to say coming of age, because I feel like I don't fully understand what coming of age means, because I've heard people say, oh, this is a coming of age movie. I'm like, all she did was go down the street.
Yeah, well, I think this one does kind of fit the mold of coming to age.
Okay.
I originally mismarketed this as a romance. And I keep getting told this isn't a romance because it doesn't have a happily ever after. And it doesn't follow the romance formula. Although a lot of the romance formula seems to cater towards straight relationships.
Yeah.
Like if you're talking about the mass market romances. Like I've read a lot of books about like how to write stories and stuff like that. And I've been to writing classes and we can talk about that later. Because I do want to talk about some of like how I learned to be a writer and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because you can't just do that. But we'll save that for another. We'll save that for later in the interview.
Yeah. Yeah, because I bring that up because when the book starts out, it's Jason, and I don't think he's not being malicious, at least as far as I'm concerned, but he's got Noel and they're doing a photo shoot, and he's also got some, ulterior motives. He's going to see if he can, just kind of pop a question to Noel. You get what I'm saying? And I feel like this is kind of the start of one of his journeys as far as, all three books go.
Okay. Yeah. I would say that. As I said earlier, Jason is very naive and he hasn't really, in some ways, he's been sheltered, and in other ways, he's just been socially clueless. And some of that is mental, like the way his brain works, and some of that is just the way that he was raised. Because his parents, Juno, fun fact, Juno's birth name was Karen.
Oh.
But spelled a little differently, Krine. But she legally changed her name to Juno just because she thought it sounded more mystical.
Oh yeah, I do remember reading that part.
Yeah, and she's a fortune teller, and her husband, Jason's father, Josh, is a drug addict and got sent to prison when Jason was little. So Jason was mostly raised by his mother. Well, Jason and his brother Justin, but somehow Justin turned out okay and moved away. So
yeah, Jason has like a very spiritual interest in men's bodies. Like throughout all the books, he's like, oh, he was giving off this energy and I had to absorb it by touching his chest. So I think that was a really interesting way to like give us insight into how his brain worked, especially with his mother being who she was. And I did like how when we would start hearing from Tyler's point of view in the second book, he starts saying stuff like, oh my gosh, Jason and that little spiritual mumbo jumbo. I don't know how my aunt got him onto that, this, that, and the other.
Yeah, it's not just Tyler that berates Jason for it. Most of the cast does.
Yeah. They're just like, okay, this dude he's cool, but he's like weird. Like he's touching our pecs and saying we got these colors coming out of us. But I also think that gives the book a good theming and like a good aesthetic because you're mixing mystic and muscles, which I find to be very interesting personally.
Oh, Mystic Muscles, nice.
Oh yes, Mr. Ooh, now you got a title for a fourth book.
Now I just got to get that written and released it by 2050. So.
So we've talked about Jason a little bit. We've talked about Tyler a little bit. Let's talk about Noel. Where did Noel come about?
Okay, so Noel, in the books, Noel is an engineering student, and I went to college to study civil engineering, and took me 6 years to get through it. And I had a lot of friends who were in mechanical engineering, and Noel's also kind of based off another friend of mine that I had, or another friend of mine, very loosely.
Mm-hmm.
Back when I was in high school in some ways, but Noel, I think it's more of Noel's technically he's more of the he's definitely more of the intellectual person. So he's like I know I talked about character axes before, like between Jason and Tyler and between Riker and Noel. There's also like the contrast between Jason and Noel as well, where Jason's very emotional, very heart driven, kind of very spur of the moment. Noel is a little bit more. Noel's a little bit more. I'm trying to think of the word here. Like he's definitely more of a logical person.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say cold and calculated because he's definitely not, but he's a lot more. He's a lot more cautious.
Yes, that's what I was about to say. Very cautious thinking person, likes to, and I feel like a lot of times he might not even fully understand how he feels about a situation. You might have to give him a day or two before he like fully, understands how he feels about a situation.
Yeah, I'd probably say so.
Yeah, because he likes to sit back and analyze things, analyze the pros, the cons, the outcome, yada yada yada. But as I've told you, he's my favorite character out of the bunch, like out of the whole cast.
Yeah, I think Noel's definitely favorite. I think most of the characters. I think people tend to like Tyler and Noel.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few that like Riker, but and there's a small handful that like Cody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Cody comes in a little later.
Yeah, Cody is my second favorite. If he was gay, he'd probably be my first favorite, but we'll leave that one alone.
Yeah, I know. They can't all be gay.
They can't all be gay, but damn it, why does he have to look like that?
Yeah.
Now, speaking of Riker is like kind of the antagonist for like the first half of the story. Let's get on to Riker. So do you know anyone that's like Riker? Because they need to be on a list.
There might have been a couple people that Riker was the influence of, or influence for. Now, unlike the other characters, well, actually, I should say, I'm getting ahead of myself. So Riker is a surfer and he's a personal trainer, and in a lot of ways, he's the opposite of Noel. So
yes.
Noel is very, as I said before, Noel is very. I don't want to say intelligent because Riker's also kind of intelligent in a different way, but Noel's very book smart and Riker's very street smart, and Riker never went to college.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the only one of the main four that didn't grow up in San Diego. I forgot to mention that the novels take place in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
And Riker grew up in SenCal, along with another secondary character, Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
And that bond is how they became friends. And so for Riker, he kind of he's the kind of person that wants to be famous for being famous, and he knows he looks good. And because he's been training for years and stuff, and he wants to, like, in his mind, this is what he wants to be. He wants to be the center of attention. And in a lot of ways, he's very superficial.
Mm-hmm.
Though I think there are some genuine feelings for Jason in some ways, but you never know. Riker's a wild card in some.
Yeah, that's kind of the scary thing about him. You're just kind of like, what? What is your motive? what do you want out of this? Are you just using Jason, for this whole thing? And I'm on your website right now. You have all the characters color coded. Is this like the correct color coding, the colors behind the characters?
If you're talking about the original 10, yes.
Okay, yes. I think his color being green is so fitting. It is so fitting. Like, it harkens back to, like, I remember being in grade school and they were teaching us about, analyzing literature, and we were reading The Great Gatsby, and we had to learn about the theme of the color green that keeps popping up. And I'm like, yeah, that's Riker. That's Riker right there. The color green.
Yeah. And that kind of also goes with using color theory as an example. Not so much with Jason and Tyler, but if you think about Riker's main color being green and Noel's color being pink, if you're talking about, I know if we replace pink with magenta, that's 180 degrees on the color spectrum. So, like, magenta is the absence of green. So if you give all red and all blue, then you would have magenta.
I did notice he seemed to be also one of the more sensitive people out of the bunch. Like, he was also the easiest to make cry, which that was always Riker.
You're talking about Riker?
Yeah. There were so many parts where he was like, "You're being mean." And he would just start crying. I'm like, oh. That's a different side.
I see.
Yeah, those are your 4 mainstay characters, like, throughout all 3 books. I mean, a few of the other characters kind of, like, if this was a TV show, I would say in season 1, Cody would be like guest character. Season 2, he would be reoccurring. And then season 3, he would be moved up to the main billing cast. So a lot of the other characters do move up to main billing cast or reoccurring cast status.
I would say Cody, and I would also say Drake.
And Drake, yes, and Drake. But yeah, for the most part, these 4 characters, they are like the 4 main characters that you're going to be hanging with for all 3 of the books.
Right.
So when you wrote the first book, did you know you're going to write 2 more?
I wasn't. I think I had an idea that I was going to do at least 2. Because I felt like when I was writing the first one, there wasn't really that much explored about Tyler. In the first book, at least, Tyler doesn't live in San Diego. Tyler lives in Las Vegas. And he's doing his own thing there, and he runs away from home because of his family. And his family being very much, in some ways, the opposite of Jason's, yet just as destructive. And he moves away to Vegas, and he becomes a go-go dancer.
Gotcha.
At the age of 17, he lies about his age to get a job. And because his boss just wants the money for the club. So he hires Tyler on the spot, and he dances there for about 6 years. Because he moves away in Tyler moves away in 2012, and he is there for about 5 years. I think I said 6, but I think that might have been a math issue. I think it's 5, but I think I was thinking 6 because book 2 takes place in 2018, so that's probably why.
Gotcha.
But go-go dancers earn a lot of money, mostly through tips, and so, and for anyone who's been in the business, they rake in the cash, and on average, Tyler was making around $300,000 a year. So with that, he was able to finance, because Jason graduated 2 years later. The 2 of them are 1 year apart biologically, but the way that their birthdays were and the way that their parents sent them to school, there was a 2-year gap between the time they graduated high school.
Gotcha.
And Tyler wasn't the nicest person to Jason when they were kids. And Tyler was pretty much a bully, and he ends up. So I guess you could, like, this is, in some ways, you could say that this is a prequel story arc and stuff. That I know it's all backstory, but you could technically write this as a story if you really wanted to, or if I really wanted to. Short version is that Tyler Tyler basically pays Jason's way going through college, although Jason doesn't last long because he's forced to take calculus.
Uh,
And because he picks, this is actually, I know this is a very deep cut, but UC San Diego, there were 6 colleges at the time. There's 7 now, but there were 6 at the time. Like like the closest you can think of would be think of like the houses in Hogwarts, except not that extreme.
yeah.
And they had 6 of those, and like you had to choose your college. And Jason picks one that requires all their students to take calculus as a GE requirement.
Oh.
And Jason didn't realize that, and so he ends up dropping out because he didn't want to take calculus, or dropping out because he didn't want to take calculus.
And I wouldn't want to take calculus either.
Wait, I survived it. Well, although my calculus grades actually improved the further along I got, because I got a C in Calc 1, a B in Calc 2, and an A in Calc 3. So go figure. And then an A in DiffyQ. But that's enough about me. Jason would have gotten all Fs.
Oh, poor Jason.
But to be fair, most of the cast probably would have, except for maybe Noel.
Yeah. Yeah, we do see Noel kind of focus on his grades a lot throughout the books.
Yeah. And he even becomes kind of becomes a student teacher for a while. So.
Which that just made me think of he's not gay, but there was, I don't know if he was a model before he was a teacher, but you know that Instagram model that someone at the university he was teaching at took a picture of him and posted online like, y'all, my teacher is fine. And then he became a model. I cannot remember his name.
The closest I can think of was Pietro Boselli, but
that's him. That's him.
That's him.
Yeah, him. I remember when the story first broke out, they were trying to say it was a girl that took a picture. Then when I looked more into it, it was a dude that took the picture. It was a gay dude. Like, oh, my teacher is fine. I feel like Noel would have had that same thing happen.
I think subconsciously Noel probably was inspired a little bit by Pietro Boselli in some ways. But it wasn't intentional.
Yeah. But I feel like he would have that problem. That could probably be like a subplot later on, like someone's taking pictures and everyone's like, hey, no, you're all over the internet as the new hot teacher.
When they kill him, like, Professor Geiger or Mr. Geiger or something like that. It's not respectful to call your teacher by their first name. They teach you that in kindergarten.
Mm-hmm. Like, oh, this hot professor. Oh my goodness. I don't know if you ever saw that show Kyle XY. They tried to make the word PILF a thing. I'm like, that is not a word. Stop.
Yeah, I watched Kyle XY. I was a huge fan of that show, and that's mostly because the main character kind of reminded me of myself in some ways.
Now that I think about it, with how you're saying you're kind of like Jason and Tyler, I could definitely see it.
Yeah.
With that main character.
Except I obviously have a belly button.
Except you obviously have a belly button. So you release all 3 books. How do you feel after you release all 3 of the books? Are you just like, oh my gosh, I've done it. I've written books.
I think, the first book I felt, I think I didn't actually talk about this in detail earlier when I was talking about how the books were made and stuff, but I think part of because I didn't obviously release them immediately after they were done. I obviously went through the editing process, took it to writing groups, and got feedback on it, made some revisions, but that took me over a year to do. And it was a year per book, and actually 2 years for book 3 because of real life stuff. But part of the reason it expedited, because I actually kind of expedited book 1 a little bit back in 2018. And the reason was my older brother, the one I mentioned earlier, he unfortunately passed away.
Oh.
And he passed away due to complications from diabetes, and which that struck a major blow, and that it definitely changed me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
I've definitely become a lot more reflective now than I
Mm-hmm.
was almost 7 years ago now.
Mm.
It'll actually be 7 years in June. But I think after the first book, I kind of felt like I definitely felt accomplished, but at the same time, there's also that uneasy feeling about letting go, which I know you have to do that,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and you can kind of say that for all the books. But yeah, because I know book two came out in 2019 and book three came out in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And book two, I think, kind of had the same flow as book one, but
Yeah.
book three, there were a lot of problems.
Book
And
book three
because,
was like zoom.
yeah, book three was definitely had a lot of problems because COVID hit and that kind of threw everyone off for a loop. And then I was working on book three during 2019 and 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And even in like 2020 and stuff, it was just, well, 2020 COVID hit. And I was one of those few people that actually had to work more
Mm-hmm.
during the pandemic because of my day job. And even in 2019, I was having to travel a lot for per diem, and so I didn't really have a lot of free time. That's part of the reason why it took 2 years instead of 1 year to get book three out compared to the first
Mm-hmm.
two. But I think that's also part of the reason why, in my opinion, book three is more of a mess than the first two. But that's just me.
I didn't feel like it was a mess. It was nonstop action. So I feel like it had kind of a different, not tonal shift, but pacing than the first two.
Yep, I guess you can kind of say that. I guess it's just difference is like it's been a while since I've actually gone through. Like I'm one of those weird people that doesn't read their own stuff like for fun.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I definitely want to say that, like, I guess it's just a difference of opinion and stuff, but you know that, like, you are your own biggest
Mm.
critic.
Yes. That's why you should always run it by other people.
Right. And I did run it by other people. So it's not like I just, scroll up a few words on my notes app on my phone and submit it to Amazon. That's actually how I wrote some of the chapters, by the way. I like the rough drafts.
Mm-hmm.
What I would do was I would like if I was bored at work or something like that because of the nature of what I was doing. Like sometimes there was a lot of downtime, and I would just start writing rough drafts of like scenes and stuff because I know what
Mm-hmm.
the scene's going to be. I know what the characters are going to be doing. I kind of have an idea of where the story's going to go. So I just write it up on my notes app on my phone, and then copy everything there, email it to myself, put it in a Word document, format it correctly, and then do my edits on Word.
Oh, okay. So after you release the books, what's the reception like? I know after talking to Tales Up for Tyranno, sometimes it can take a little while for the reception to come in. What would you say the overall reception was like? Were some books better received than others?
Well, book one, as I said earlier, book one, I kind of mismarketed it as a romance,
Mm-hmm.
and it got blasted as a romance because people kept telling me that it's not a romance. It doesn't follow the romantic formula, and a lot of people were turned off by Jason
Mm-hmm.
because they felt like he was too childish or they felt like he was way too inappropriate.
Mm-hmm.
And in my early writing groups and stuff, there were a lot of people, and I know we talked about this in other calls and stuff, where where a lot of people were comparing Jason to Jeffrey Dahmer. And oddly enough, I started submitting to writing groups in 2017, and they start comparing him to Jeffrey Dahmer. Oddly enough, 2 years later, there's a movie about Jeffrey Dahmer that stars Ross Lynch, and I think Ross Lynch is super hot. And at the time, I felt like it'd be a miracle if this were happen. But if Ross Lynch were to play Jason in TCS, then
Be like a full circle moment.
yeah,
They do cast Jeffrey Dahmer to be very attractive. I didn't find the actual Jeffrey Dahmer, just looking at pictures of him, I didn't particularly find him attractive.
I didn't think it was that hot.
But maybe, you
But
know, the studios are trying to like let you understand maybe how people saw him back in the day. I
yeah.
don't know.
But anyways, besides Jason, as far as the other characters were, I know you said you liked Noel, and there's a lot of people that like Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
There's one friend of mine that she said that she really liked Tyler the most because she felt like Tyler was the character that had the most quote unquote common sense in his head.
Mm-hmm.
Because as I said, you got like Jason in his flights of fancy, and then Tyler's a lot more grounded, and
Yeah.
I guess Noel's kind of grounded too
Mm-hmm.
in some ways.
So that's your reception. So now I want to talk about your YouTube channel. When did you start your YouTube channel?
Okay, so I actually started my YouTube channel. Well, this is actually the TieStar Blue one is actually my second channel. The
Mhm.
first one was way back when. That was back when I was in college, and that was stupid college person doing stupid college things.
Oh,
Uh, and all those videos are pretty much gone.
mm-hmm.
And I got rid of them because, like, I used to do like a lot of stupid YouTube poop stuff that nobody should ever see.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Sonic says.
That's no good. But and yeah, I did use Sonic for a few of them, but I got rid of those because I was in the job market, job search, was afraid people were gonna find my stuff, even though I was extra careful not to like I don't get my real name out.
Mm-hmm.
So I started the TSV channel in 2013, and it originally started off as just as an archive for my old Star Wars: The Old Republic guild.
Yeah.
Uh, as just a way to record streams. This was, or not streams, but record the raid bosses. This was back before I was able to use Twitch for anything. Like I wasn't
Mhm.
able to stream. I didn't have the software to do so. Yeah, the gateway to streaming was a lot higher back in 2013 than it
Yeah.
is today.
Yeah, it was.
So that kind of started off as that. And I got a few subscribers, not very many. And then real life gets in the way, and I start working on the books and stuff like that. And then I kind of just let YouTube off by the wayside until, let's say, 2021. The other thing with 2021 was that I moved.
Mhm.
Moved across town. So I moved from my apartment, a 1 bedroom, 700 square foot apartment, to a 3 bedroom, 1,100 square foot condo. So the move was there, and part of that was, and a lot of this was kind of exited by the inheritance because my brother passed away, and
Mhm.
I used the lion's share of the inheritance was for like the initial down payment for the mortgage and initial down payment for my car, and
Mhm.
trying to get myself launched and be more financially independent.
Yeah.
And I did use a small amount of the inheritance money to get myself a really high-end computer
Mhm.
because I am a gamer and stuff like that. And I wanted to get something to be able to actually stream because like a simple $700 Dell computer isn't going to cut it.
Nope.
And so instead, you got to go with the $5,000 next computer that's one of my moderators, Bit, helped me pick out. So I decided that I wanted to go into like Twitch streaming and stuff like that, and I go into like gaming and stuff. And I know I'm not the best streamer or anything, like even though I've been doing it off and on for 4 years. And so I kind of start off on Twitch. I get affiliate there, and then I decided to switch back to YouTube because I kind of wanted to. I guess it kind of started off as a goal for me to get monetized, which I'm getting closer and closer. I'm about 800 watch hours away
Mhm.
from basic monetization, at least at the time of this interview.
Well, you're sure to make it. 800 watch hours. A few really good videos, like really good viewership, that'll actually do it.
Yeah, which my latest long form video is actually taken off really well. Yeah, it's gotten over 1,200 views in 3 days,
Ooh.
which is I think better than almost everything I've done. So,
That's really good.
and in fact, let me pull up the analytics right now. Oh, I gained a subscriber. Nice.
Ooh.
Let me see here. Where is this at? Yeah, it's at this exact moment. It's at 1,256 views
Ooh.
and 15 watch hours.
That is awesome. See, there's already 15 watch hours right there.
Yep.
So you start this YouTube channels, you're playing Star Wars. What point were you just kind of probably sitting down and you were like, oh, I could create a world based on my book with my YouTube channel?
The idea is kind of like I think a lot of it was probably a suggestion by Bit, as I said.
Mhm.
Bit is a cousin of mine, and he's also one of my moderators.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of came up with that as like a passing idea. And then also my friend Dro. I don't know if you've met him or not, but he's a Final Fantasy 14 player, and he also kind of came up with that idea as well because it was like I've got these characters, and I'm also trying to be a Twitch streamer.
Mm-hmm.
Why not just integrate the two worlds together? And kind of gives me a brand gives me a chance to stand out from the rest of the competition.
Mm-hmm.
And on YouTube, I'm starting to try to do I think the reason that the latest video has been doing better is because it's a lot more realistic than the other stuff.
Yeah.
But there's like I was doing like pack bouncing animations and muscle animations and stuff like that, and those are kind of hit or miss. But this more realistic one's definitely going. And I actually released a channel trailer a couple days ago that is in that same style.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wanting to play more with it, although it does get really expensive.
Yeah, so I think with your characters being so grounded in reality, so a lot of other type of fantasy stories with like big muscle men, they're usually in fantasy, so it's easy to like get lost in drawings with these characters, but you've grounded these characters so heavily into reality that I think it actually really helps to have realistic depictions of them. So you got realistic depictions of Noel, Ty, and Riker. So people are more likely like, oh yeah, he looks like this. This is what he would look like in real life. Oh, that's hot, you know.
Yeah, and it's not just those three. I don't know if you've seen the channel trailer or not, but and I don't know if you can though, because you're already subscribed to me, and the only people that can watch it are people that aren't subscribed. But I can send you the link, and actually, I think it's in the TSP Beach Party server.
Oh, it might be.
Yeah, let me see if it is.
I had that same issue where my channel trailer wasn't showing up for people who were subscribed to me, so I had to go in and change that. I was like, oh, absolutely
Yeah.
not. They need to see my trailer.
Yeah, I think I posted it here. Let me see here. Where'd it go? I've got so many channels. Yeah, it's in the TSP Beach Party server.
Okay, let me look because I do know I'm part of that server. Oh wait, I can't right now because I'm recording on the Discord, but I'll look at it on my phone.
It doesn't need to be now. It can be later.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think the added realism really does help, and also the algorithm, I think, if you're trying to go on something like sex appeal, prefers real human looking bodies, not so much drawings, unless it's like Zenless Zone Zero or something.
I'm thinking like, I don't know, who's that person I'm thinking of? The Silverjow, is that one of them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think Silverjow, or trying to think who the other one is. Silverjow's the only one I can think of right now, but like the ultra realistic ones that cost thousands of dollars for commission.
Mm-hmm.
And that's assuming you can get one.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm glad you found a way to kind of enhance these characters past, just see. I don't want to say just drawings, because they were drawn by very talented artists, and that makes it sound like I'm like,
yeah,
those are just drawings, but I'm sure everyone knows what I mean. Enhance these characters past, just a 2D surface. Now they've kind of basically been brought to life.
Yeah, trying to bring them to life as best I can.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a learning process, and I already have some footage of, and that's why I was bringing up the channel trailer, is because Jason, Drake, and Cody also appear at the channel trailer.
Oh.
And then I also released a short today with Jason in it, and as well as the other mains.
Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah, I just saw that one before we got on this call.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I posted a couple hours ago, so yeah.
Are you getting reception on how book 2 on YouTube is going?
Not too much.
Mm-hmm.
So far, book 2, the first 3 chapters are out, and I recorded the lines for chapters 4 and 5 this morning. I'm hoping I can get chapter 4 out next weekend, which I think I can. Chapter 5 is super long, and that might take me a little longer to get going.
Mm-hmm.
But chapter 4 is, I think, a little bit on the shorter side, so I can probably get that one done this coming week and hopefully get it up there by next Saturday morning. By Saturday morning, I'm talking about on March 8th. Yeah, I'm not sure when this interview is going to go live, but I'm aiming for March 8th at this time.
So we need to mark our calendars. So a lot of your channel is full of peck bouncing videos. How did you come up with, let's have the characters do some peck bouncing competitions? Where'd that come about?
So pack bouncing competitions, that kind of came as like it's as I said, it's kind of a way to get because a lot of people are drawn visually by sex appeal,
Mm-hmm.
as we kind of said already, and an easy way to do that is with peck bounces, and through an app that one of the artists that I used to commission suggested, I was able to get some really quick stuff done, and it kind of it kind of put me on the map a little bit. I think even more so than the audiobooks.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason why, like, it served its purpose. That's why I'm kind of moving to the more realistic stuff now.
Mm-hmm.
Because the last couple times I did it, it was kind of the last couple of videos didn't do so well. But I think I'm starting to make a bit of a comeback.
Okay. Yeah, I remember the other day you put in chat, you're like, oh yeah, I need to use Noel more. I'm like, yes, you do.
I do need to use Noel more because I tend to use Riker a lot. Well, as I said, Riker's the person that wants to be seen.
So he can't help but like in your brain just come to the forefront. It's like like they're all fighting in your head on who should be featured, and Riker wins. Noel's okay with just kind of being in the background.
In a lot of ways. I think the other reason Riker was used a lot more was because of Star Wars: The Old Republic. My main at the time was Reikstar, and he was an operative, and I was mostly playing on him. Where I wasn't on Null Star as much. Null's my sniper.
Mm-hmm.
But lately I've been on Tyler a lot because Tyler they need me on my Juggernauts. So yeah, I'm just looking through everything here.
So another thing I've noticed about your channel, and it's your fault that I got back into Sonic stuff. You've been playing streaming a lot of Sonic the Hedgehog games. You even have a video, TCS Talks, the first season of all the characters playing. Is it Sonic Unleashed? I think.
Yeah, it is Sonic Unleashed.
Yeah, all the characters sitting here playing Sonic Unleashed, which hot guys playing Sonic the Hedgehog video games. I think I could sit there and watch that all day.
Yeah, I know that one, it was kind of, the footage was a little bit older from like 2022, and I was using my old PNG Tuber avatars at the time. And I think that one, I know this would be, as I said, astronomically expensive to do so, would be like if you add more of that realistic appeal. Like if I were to do the video today, then try to have one of the guys there on loop, kind of. I think that would be kind of interesting to see.
I was just thinking, I'm like, if you could just have one of the guys like on like a type of loop, depending on what he would say, maybe he would say a few things. One thing you could do is maybe they could have like a mask or something on. There was a YouTuber that I used to watch. He does completely different content now, but he had an animated character. And one day he decided to basically have a long live stream with his animated character. Now, he didn't have a PNG tuber. Like, this is before VTubers really blew up. So what he did was he created an animation loop and had like this in-story reason, because his character had like a little storyline going, had an in-story reason for why this character was wearing like this weird mask on his face, like around his mouth. Yeah. So he didn't have to worry about people be like, your lips are moving. So yeah, you could do something like that. You should play around with that, because hot guys playing Sonic the Hedgehog, like I feel like that's an untapped market.
Yeah. And there's definitely a lot of, like, I've noticed that my Sonic streams do tend to be more popular than my other stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I think if I had like for the games I regularly stream, like if I had to guess right now, the Sonic streams would be on top. Then I think below that would be the Star Wars ones, although the Star Wars ones kind of have a regular audience.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would say Planet Coaster below that, and then at the very bottom, Final Fantasy 14.
Mm-hmm.
Which is actually kind of weird because Final Fantasy 14 is, I think that one's just the field's oversaturated.
Yeah, because I feel like that's an immensely popular MMO. It's like one of the most respected ones for sure. And Sonic, if you Sonic anywhere, the Sonic fans are coming. I don't care if you on the moon. A Sonic fan gonna fly a rocket up there and find you and watch the stream. I don't know where every time I play a Sonic game, these Sonic fans just come out of the woodwork. I'm like, who are you? Where did you come from? Hi.
Yeah, that is kind of Sonic for you. And yeah, this was one thing. I don't want to disparage my deceased brother, but my brother didn't really like the fact that I was a Sonic fan, but because he thought that I was super obsessed with it. And I think I'm just trying to say that the obsession is really real there.
It's good. We can't help it's good. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad you did see that the Sonic videos do perform well. So you actually found a way to incorporate the characters from the book into Sonic gameplay. I thought that was actually very creative because before you posted the video, I didn't even realize that you had those episodes. So when you posted the TCS Talks episodes in like a whole season, I was like, oh, that's actually very creative. I like that.
And the thing is that the TPS Talks, the season 1 there, there was an overarching storyline in which the guys played over 3 days. And the first day they start off at Dustin's dorm, but then Dustin gets really angry and kicks them out. So they have to alternate between Drake's dorm and Jason's apartment. With the day 2 videos are primarily in Jason's apartment. Day 3 is mostly in Drake's dorm, although Jason gets mad, and so he ends up playing his levels separately. So because the guys were supposed to take turns. And then I actually never recorded the last level though.
Oh.
So
well, I feel like I know why you didn't record the last. Was that the one you were raging out on in that old video?
That's one of the ones I was raging out at. Well, although I can probably do Eggman Land now, but back then it was a pain. Like I had to give myself a personal challenge back in 2022 when I was recording those videos to see how long it takes for me to beat Eggman Land without dying. And it actually took me less time than I was expecting. Like I was expecting at least a 3-hour stream, and I did it in about 90 minutes. So yeah, I was giddy with joy when I finished it and finished the level without dying, got it recorded, but I had my commentary on there, and that would be useful for a TCS Talks episode, obviously. Oddly enough, the original plan, had I done that last episode, would have been Kyle as the person playing the stage, and he would have been joined by Lance.
Oh.
And Lance is not in the first book, but he joins in on the second book. So yeah, so I guess it's kind of because I kind of wanted that narrative there.
I was like, yeah, that's a very interesting way for you to add more story, more lore, more writing for these characters. Like, I feel like the way you've used YouTube is very creative.
Yeah, I know it takes a while. Like, obviously, Rome's not built in a day, but I guess it's kind of an acquired taste in some ways. Because a lot of people, like, they come for the Peck Bouncer videos. Like, I want them to come for the Peck Bouncer videos, and I want them to stay for the TCS Talks episodes, but
yeah,
trying to get from A to B is a little difficult sometimes.
There was some big muscly streamer, he said, come for the titties, stay for the personality.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I like that quote.
And I'm not gonna lie, I came for the titties and I stayed for the personality because I was on Twitch and the boobies was out. So I was like, ooh.
Nice.
Because thankfully on Twitch they let men have they breastises out now. They used to not let men do that.
Yeah, and I don't know if I sent you my friend Joe's stream or not, because he actually streamed last night, and that's why part of the reasons why I kind of left your stream for a little while was because he was on, and I wanted to say hi to him, and then that got turned into, oh, I'm gonna play Mario Kart with him, but he was streaming because he was playing Donkey Kong.
Oh,
or he was playing as Donkey Kong in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and. So, but on camera, he shows himself on camera. He is wearing nothing but the DK tie.
So you're on chapter 3 of TCS Into the Summer. You're going to go through that whole book, and then you're going to do the third book. So what's next?
I have dabbled into ideas of a book 4. And I think at one point I actually kind of started a book 4. but I didn't get very far into it. Book 4 was going to focus on Drake. And I remember at the start of the interview, I mentioned Parker and Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't actually get a chance to explain what became of them.
Yeah.
Parker eventually became Drake, and Jacob eventually became Kyle.
Ah.
So for book 4, the plan was that Drake was going to be going into Drake's. It's mentioned in the first 3 books that Drake is a med school student. Starts off as kinesiology, and then goes into sports medicine, and actually goes into med school.
Mm-hmm.
And Drake's going through med school, and then the COVID-19 pandemic happens.
Mm.
Because book 3 ends at the end of 2018, and that story was pretty much resolved by then. And so book 4 was going to focus more on Drake. So in book 4, the plot was that Drake's basically having to go through med school during the middle of the pandemic.
Mm.
And on top of that, there are some slight spoilers here, but one of his friends returns home
Oh.
from being abroad for a couple of years.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And so the two of them have their relationship, and then there's also it's kind of the mix of that, and that's kind of in limbo because I've been super busy with other stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to try to get this going. I definitely just gotta cloister myself in like an ivory tower for like 2 months and just write 70,000 words and hopefully come up with something that's actually sellable.
Yeah, I'm sure you can do it. So what do you feel is going to be in between all that? And how do you think you can go about, I guess, better promoting and introducing people to your book series through your YouTube channel, through other means like social media possibly?
Okay, so I have played around with other social media accounts in the past and stuff. I don't really use Facebook because Facebook is personal. That's just
Yeah.
for my that's just for my personal stuff. The other main social media accounts that I use nowadays is Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
which I was promoting stuff on Instagram for a while, and with the realistic stuff, I might try to go back to it. I don't know if I'm going to start fresh or if I'm going to just try to revive my old account because my old account is definitely on the decline and stuff like that. And because I was using Instagram for a while, and then I tried playing around with TikTok. TikTok was they were being themselves, and they kept trying to ban me.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kept trying to ban me, so I didn't last long on TikTok. And then I was on Twitter until a certain person bought the place,
Mhm.
and then I jumped ship. Now on Twitter, back when I was on there, before a certain person bought the place, was I actually had roleplay accounts where I would play
Oh.
where I have roleplay as each of the main characters. So you have Jason, Tyler, Riker, and Noel, and I think I added a Cody account later because Cody eventually got promoted to quasi main character status.
Mm-hmm.
And so Jason, I'm trying to act basically as the characters to an extent, although I don't think Noel and Cody were on there as much. And actually, I think even Riker wasn't really on there as much.
Mm-hmm.
It was mostly Jason and Tyler.
Yeah. Which makes sense.
Yeah, because, well, they're the two mains, and Jason's the one that's going to be looking for every muscle guy on the planet and
Mm-hmm.
trying to way to see if he can channel cosmic energy from their pets. But and then Tyler's going to basically be Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing that for a while, and it was kind of hit or miss there. And Jason, I think, got the most followers overall.
Gotcha. Yeah, with TikTok, they are really weird about sexily drawn men, but have it be an actual
Oddly
man.
enough,
What were you about to say?
well, I know we talked about this. I know I was gonna take this a bit of a different direction, but you brought up the actual men there.
Mm-hmm.
I think I mentioned like even people like Alex Eubank have had their pictures taken down
Mm.
because the Instagram bots or the TikTok bots think that their pics are too big.
You know, that's starting to make a lot of sense because some of the dudes with big pectorals that I see on Instagram, they don't post that much on TikTok.
Yeah, but it was actually weird reasons why I kept getting banned, and it was because of apparently TikTok doesn't like links.
Yeah, like YouTube, yeah.
Yeah, apparently they don't like links.
I know.
Yeah, and the other reason I wasn't using TikTok was I think a part of it was also the demographics.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of the younger crowd, and
Mm-hmm.
DCS is a story that has sexual themes and sexual content, and
Yeah.
it's not suitable for people under the age of 18.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to be marketing to kids.
Mm-hmm.
And for a while, I was on TikTok for a little bit, and I put a couple of them on there, and I post Drake's intro video on there, and people keep asking me, "Oh, where's Kendrick? Where's Kendrick?"
Oh my gosh.
That's not where Drake gets his name from.
Yeah, it can be very hard this day and age to be a content creator. Because I remember growing up, the internet wasn't for kids. Like even my parents would try really, really hard to monitor what I was looking at on the internet because they're like, the internet is not a place for children. If you're not on CartoonNetwork.com, Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, Fantage, Movie Star Planet, Club Penguin, if you're not on these websites, we need to know what website you're on because it's most likely not for kids.
When I was a kid, most of those websites didn't exist. But the first browser that I used was Prodigy.
Oh.
I don't know if you heard of Prodigy or not.
I have.
Yeah, Prodigy, I think, had like a free plan, a basic plan, and a plus plan.
Mm.
And then AOL came not long after. And AOL, it was just you had to limit the amount of time you had online because you were paying for internet by the hour.
Yeah, my parents had AOL.
And then we switched to broadband, and that's when I finally got around to using the internet. But I wasn't really restricted to like Disney Channel or Nickelodeon or anything like that.
Yeah. Nowadays, it's like they want to mingle everyone together, but because they're mingling all the ages together, they're trying to make adults not do adult things. And it's like, then get the children off and get the children somewhere else. Like, I'm trying to do my thing. I'm trying to do my business and have these adult conversations. Children don't need to be here. It's really bad. It's a weird situation.
And even within my own family and stuff, where my cousins and stuff, they always post pictures of their kids online.
Mm-hmm.
This is just my personal opinion, but a 6-month-old baby does not need an iPad.
No. It's like, I get it. You need a little time to breathe and nothing's calming the baby down. Nothing's holding the baby's attention. It's like, I get it. But like, you could get them a little Rowler toy or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is a hurdle that we as content creators have to overcome. We're just like, how do we make it so we can be successful and our content gets pushed out in the algorithm without being age restricted, but also get these kids about my YouTube channel?
Yeah.
It's hard to do, but you can only just do your best, honestly.
Yeah.
So as far as your brand, do you see yourself doing, I mean, obviously you have a YouTube channel, you do gaming stuff, but as far as just the TyStar Blue brand, do you see yourself doing things outside of that universe of characters? Do you see yourself making writing other books with completely different characters, completely different universe or anything like that?
I actually have started, and actually I wrote a 45,000 word novella that I never released. That was a fantasy novella where it's about a young duke that basically has to save his kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was probably definitely the biggest non-TCS thing I've done. There was something else that I've done or that I've started that takes place in that same world, where basically you have a society of like I'm trying to figure out how to explain this, because trying to explain the world in 5 minutes is really hard.
Oh yeah.
I think the easy way is that it's basically a war between gods.
Oh.
Yeah, and or it's a proxy war between gods, where you have these 5 powerful gods that used to form a council. However, one of the gods defected from it, and their worshippers are at war with the people that stayed loyal. And these gods manifest as avatars that basically rule the nations.
Mm-hmm.
And the protagonist is from the culture that is from the Defector, and he gets roped up into a secret society that they call themselves the Transcendents because they transcend all the nations.
Mm-hmm.
And their goal is to try to basically take down all the avatars, bringing the war to an end. From basically trying to play both sides, just that's their idea of world peace.
Do you know what that vaguely? It doesn't sound like it completely, but it vaguely. You know what that vaguely reminds me of? Do you read comic books at all?
Not really.
Jack Kirby's The New Gods over at DC Comics. That vaguely, like when you got more into the plot, it wasn't really the same at all. But just gods at war, worshippers and non-believers. That was really reminding me of Jack Kirby's The New Gods. Are you familiar? You probably are because it was a film.
I've heard of The New Gods. I haven't seen it.
But are you familiar with the Marvel film, the Eternals?
The Eternals. I've heard of it. I haven't seen it though.
That was also made by Jack Kirby. So basically, Jack Kirby had this very interesting premise. It is kind of like the premise you came up with, but you know, it was made back in, I think, the 80s or something, 70s, 80s. So, of course, it's different, but very similar premise is, you know, gods at war with each other and worship is this, that, and the other. So he went to DC and made The New Gods, and that's kind of the premise. Well, he got fired from DC and they hired him at Marvel. And at Marvel, they were like, hey, Jack, we want you to make some more of those good comics. So he was like, oh, well, DC has the rights to The New Gods, so I'm going to create the Eternals, which is basically The New Gods. He basically created the same thing, except called it something different. And Eternals, its premise was a bit different. It was, you know, all the different religions, mythologies, and that we've had over all the centuries. What if those gods were real? Yeah, what if they not only were real, but they came back? Like, because, you know, when people stop believing in them, they kind of disappear. But what if they came back? Now, from what I understand, The New Gods has like a very good reputation. People are like, oh, yeah, the storytelling is really good. I read a little bit of it, of the original New Gods. I was hooked. I was like, oh, shit, this is good. Wait, let me turn this page. The Eternals, I was kind of like, okay, this don't make no goddamn sense. But if it helps you, I would look into both of those, The New Gods and the Eternals. I recommend The New Gods. That was a good read. Eternals is interesting, but it didn't make much goddamn sense to me, to be honest.
I'll have to take a look at it when I get a chance.
Yeah. But yeah, that's an interesting premise. Another thing it all kind of reminded me of is this manga. It just got turned into an anime, Undead Unluck. So, anything else you want everyone to know about you, your channel, your books, the future of your content?
All right. So I did want to, well, first of all, I want to thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate you taking the time to interview me.
Of course.
And then one thing that I kind of wanted to talk about that we didn't really get into was just my writing journey.
Yes.
As we talked about the books and like the content of the books themselves, but we didn't really talk about my journey as a writer. So I actually wrote the first TCS draft in 2016 and let my aunt read it. And of course, she thought it was terrible. She was honest and gave me a lot of pointers and stuff. And so that's where I started taking writing classes. And here in Vegas, there are writing classes once a month at one of the local libraries here that are taught by a fantasy author. I don't know if you've heard of him, Maxwell Alexander Drake.
No, I haven't.
Okay, so he's been hired by, I know he was hired by Sony for a while to write some stuff for EverQuest. I think his biggest flex is that he got personally invited to Saudi Arabia by the Crown Prince. To speak at a Comic-Con convention in Saudi Arabia.
So he's got some stuff under his belt.
Yeah. In his class, he was telling me all these stories about him like touring the country and basically acting like he owned the place. And he was even invited to go to Mecca. Which, as a non-Muslim, that is unheard of. And he actually turned it down.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot why exactly he turned it down, but it is supposed to be impossible for a non-Muslim to enter Mecca.
Mm.
And somehow he would have been invited to get into Mecca.
That's crazy.
Yeah. All because the Crown Prince was a fan of his work.
How fascinating.
So that's his biggest flex, but that's enough about him. This is more about my journey. And I think a lot of how I write was influenced by him,
Okay.
where I try to do a lot of like short, concise sentences where it's like you want your verbs to do most of your work.
Mm-hmm.
So like take these sentences here. This isn't meant to be a grammar lesson, but like there's a difference between Tyler walked down the street, Tyler stormed down the street, Tyler
Mhm.
strolled down the street, Tyler limped down the street. Those all give different meanings,
Yes.
but they're essentially the same action. So there was a lot of that too. And then there was also filtering. Like, I guess that's kind of where it kind of bugs me, where it's just saying, "Oh, I feel like I feel hot today."
Mm-hmm.
Like that's an obvious tell. Sweat is dripping down my sides. That's showing you something.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely learned a lot from his classes and with dialogue and with point of view and with those kinds of things. So I kind of wanted to give that shout out as well
Mm-hmm.
because I definitely owe a lot of my writing to him and also my writers group that I was going to for about 5 years or so. I had to stop because it conflicted with my raid, but
Yeah.
and also conflict with work, but that's a whole separate thing because they gave me a lot of very useful advice as well and made a lot of
Mhm.
friends. So I kind of wanted to give that as well. I don't know if you had any questions for me regarding my writing journey at all, or
How much do you think you've improved?
compared to 2016, I've definitely improved by leaps and bounds. Even from 2016 to 2018,
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like I've improved quite a bit because I'm able to see the mistakes that I was making in my writing and just going, okay, why did I write this?
Yeah.
Like, one piece of advice that was given is that, okay, write something, leave it alone for 6 months, and look it over 6 months later. And if you think it's crap, then you're doing a good job.
Oh, okay.
Because if you think it's awesome, then that means you haven't really improved as a writer.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think it's crap, then you know how you're going to make it better.
Yeah. That's good advice. What would you say is like one of your writing pet peeves?
I did. I kind of went over this already, but filtering, as I said, like feeling something like I saw the window
Mhm.
or I saw a door.
Yeah.
You can show me more about that door. Like, what does the door look like? What is the like? If you were to touch the door, what does it feel like? I know it's kind of hard to smell the door, but well, I guess you could smell the door if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, you want people to like set the scene, as they say.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Make you more immersed. That's what my mom would always say she loved about reading. She felt like you
Yeah.
could be very
Because
immersed in the story.
because with writing you have access to all five senses, and I
Mhm.
know that I'm guilty of this myself, and I do try to throw it in sometimes, but and this is one thing that Drake goes by, not my Drake, but Maxwell Alexander Drake. He always starts with the sense of smell because it's the sense of smell tends to get overlooked.
Oh, okay.
So whenever he's describing a scene.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing he likes to do, which I don't do as much of because the guys are busy doing things, is he does a lot of stuff over dinner.
Oh.
Like he sets a lot of scenes over dinner. So, and this is one thing that I kind of like as well, where I don't like using speech tags very much. Sometimes it's unavoidable. Like if you have five characters talking, like, okay, Drake said this, Dustin said that, Cody said that.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you just have a one-on-one conversation, let's say Jason and Tyler are talking. If you go through the writing, I try to minimize the amount of, okay, blah blah blah, Jason said, blah blah blah,
Mhm.
Tyler said.
Yes.
Instead, you want actions there, or thoughts, or feelings, or something like that in there that you could just tell by the dialogue to see who's talking.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's kind of what I'm aiming for when it comes to like good writing and stuff. I know it's kind of hard to do it in small snippets,
Mm-hmm.
but if you were to pull the dialogue out of a book, you should be able to figure out who's talking at any one time with just the dialogue.
Yeah.
Obviously, if it's a one word answer, that's me a little bit harder, but or if it's like very formal speech, like if you've given the State of the Union address, that's a little different. But if you're a photographer that's working with models in a modeling agency, each model's got to have his own personality. So, so I think that's kind of, I know I kind of rambled on a bit there, but
no, you're good. One of the things I hate that's a pet peeve for me is if you use the same word over and over and over again. Because for me, if you use the same word over and over again, it stops being a word and starts being a noise. Like you just say, face, 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 face. Okay, now it's a no. Now I can't even hear you saying face. It just sounds like a noise at that point.
yeah, that happens to be sometimes too. Like, okay, so I'm looking at the window. The window is big. The window has a set of blinds in front of it. The blinds in front of the window are very close. Like, how many times have I said the word window there?
Yeah, and it's like, what are you even talking about? I just keep hearing you talk about a noise. But is there anything else you wanted to tell everyone? Any streams to look forward to?
As far as streams go, so for streams, I regularly stream with my Star Wars Raid team on Sundays and Mondays, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific time. And then on Tuesday nights, I do my fun runs, which are from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Pacific time. And then the rest of the week, it kind of varies up a little bit. I usually try to stream on or before 2 p.m. Pacific on Wednesdays, Wednesdays through Saturdays. The last couple of days I've been taking off because I got other things going on. And right now I'm building an amusement park and Planet Coaster.
Ooh.
That is based off Eorzea. Eorzea is, for those that don't know, is the primary setting for Final Fantasy XIV.
Ooh.
That park, it's currently in progress. It's still really early on. I've only gotten 3 streams done. I think number 4 is going to probably be on Wednesday. Or at least I made me for Wednesday for that. And so it's going to be me just building stuff and basically just chatting it up. I try to talk as much as I can on those streams because that's one thing, especially with my creative streams, that you have to do is just you have to constantly be talking because you never know who's going to show up at any one time. And if you're silent, then that's going to be a big turnoff.
Yeah.
So it's just, you got to be super engaging, like always look at chat and stuff like that. And with the creative streams, it kind of, at least with those, I can kind of chat with my own pace. Like I know with SWTOR, SWTOR's short for Star Wars, things can get a little bit tense, especially on raid nights, wiping on the same boss over and over again.
Yeah, I've never played those type of MMOs, so anytime I'm watching, I'm like, what are they doing?
Yeah, it's, well, there's a reason those thumbnails say, why are we wiping? Because for those that are not familiar with MMO terminology, a wipe basically means the boss kills everybody.
Oh.
So, and we're dealing with some really difficult bosses that require, like, you have 8 players. Each player has his or her own job that has to be done, and so it's all about teamwork.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when it comes to what we call in the game NIM content or nightmare content. So, as you can probably guess by the name, how difficult it is.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. They eventually renamed it Master Mode, but everyone calls it NIM. But that's basically what I do on Sundays and Mondays. And then fun runs are easier stuff on Tuesday nights, and those can get kind of rowdy sometimes. And that way you can also hear my Discord teammates and stuff and all the shenanigans they like to get into, like lots of P. Diddy baby oil, for example.
Yeah, I feel like when Sonic Rumble comes out, we need to collab on it.
Yeah, we should definitely do that. I don't know when it's coming out. I keep hearing to be announced.
They just delayed it again. They delayed it to the spring, which made me mad because my cousin kept saying, calm down. The Apple Store says February 28th. I said, that's a placeholder, and I don't think it's going to meet that date. Well, the most upsetting thing about Sonic Rumble is it's technically out, just not globally, but the game is out and people are playing it and getting all these rewards and costumes and stuff. And the social media is speaking to us globally as if we all can play it. It's like, no, we can't. Only a certain few countries can play it. So they delayed it to spring. They had to announce it because February 28th came. So it's been delayed to spring. So March or April, I'm assuming it's coming. But I want to play it now. Well, technically I can play it now, but I need a VPN. I don't feel like doing all that.
Where is it? Where is it released currently?
I think like Malaysia and the Philippines, I think. Some Asian territories, like some Asian territories is where it's released.
I see.
Hmm. Well, Ty, thank you for being here and talking about your books and your characters. I know they are very personal to you, so I appreciate you sharing some insight about them.
Yep, and I really appreciate you taking the time to interview me and getting to know more about both myself and the novel series and the channel and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm. Well, guys, you can check Ty out on his channel. Also, you can read his books, his 3-part book series. It's all on Amazon.com. And you can read it on Kindle as well. It's on Amazon and Kindle, correct?
Yes, that's right.
Yes, so you can get it digitally on Kindle. Anything else you'd like to share, Ty?
I think that would be just about it. I think we just about covered everything. Once again, thank you so much for having me today.
You're very welcome. All right, guys, until next time, bye.
See ya.